1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello and welcome to the Royal Blue Podcast. It's Thursday. It's the post Merseyside Derby reaction show. We are live on YouTube and I am your host Ian Croll. Joining me in the Royal Blue studio today to talk all things Everton, we've got Chris Beesley. Chris, how are things? All good?
Groundhog Day, wasn't it?
Groundhog Day?
Yeah, Anfield, yeah.
Not feeling it today at all, no?
I've had more painful experiences at Anfield, plenty more painful than that, but yeah, it's... like I said, we've been through it so many times, haven't we? So, yeah.
Another painful experience that I've noticed for you this morning is that you've had to go for a Tesco meal deal rather than just the homemade sandwiches as well. That must be catastrophic for you.
Well, like a lot of households on Merseyside, ours is mixed, so maybe I save myself, in that respect. But now there's no breading, so...
No breading.
Get your ass.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of... the old pulled pork it was from Tesco.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah. Well, things can only get better, I guess. Fingers crossed. Also on the podcast today, we've got the return of Paul Wheelock. Paul, you okay?
Yeah, okay. Not bad. I think as we'll go into. Kind of well used to losing at Anfield, unfortunately, now. But, we weren't disgraced. There's been a lot poorer performance and poorer kind of outcomes than we've had over the years. But a bit of disappointment as well, because... I thought we could have got something last night.
It's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah.
Okay, well, today's agenda, obviously Everton fell to a 1-0 defeat at Anfield last night, and we are here to react, as well as discuss and debate the key flashpoints from the game. As always, give this video a thumbs up, drop us a like, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, support is greatly appreciated. And as always, join the debate and leave us some comments, ask us some questions, get involved with the podcast yourself. Initial thoughts then, Chris, we'll start with you. I mean, from my point of view, I thought the first half performance was okay. I felt like we went there with a clear game plan. We were never going to have the lion's share of possession of the ball. Mm-hmm. Liverpool are going to win the league. They're going to be the best team in England this season. So it was always going to be a difficult game. But I felt with the game plan that we had, clearly counter-attacking on the break, getting the ball in behind, even if it was a long ball. I felt like we panicked Liverpool a little bit. Obviously dropped off in the second half slightly. But what were your initial thoughts to begin with?
Yeah, I'd say it was a bit of a missed opportunity in that respect, in that they were getting joy, as you say, the ball over the top, Van Dijk and Canate, an elite centre-back pairing, but they were made to look very ordinary in that first half. I think Jamie Carragher, of all people, apparently was saying on Sky they were making Beto look like Didier Drogba. I'm not sure I'd go that far. I wish he finished like Didier Drogba. But yeah, so obviously the first one, very marginal call, but he was called offside for that after he nutmegged Kelleher, scored in front of the Kop. But then when it really mattered, his big chance one-on-one hits the post, and that's where the game sort of changes. Actually, one opportunity, at Anfield, going there, big chance like that, you've got to take them. If you've got to come away with that first win in front of fans since 1999, if like I said in my snap analysis at the time, if only he'd shown the same sort of composure as Kevin Campbell back then, could have been a very different outcome, but it wasn't to be. Like you say, they are the best team in England this season. They're going to be lifting their first league title in front of fans for 35 years. But for David Moyes, the wait goes on. I mean, he was asked a lot about it before the game, for all the good that he's done for Everton over the years. He's never won at Anfield. But then to be fair, other than Carlo Ancelotti behind closed doors, none of the other managers that have followed him from first time round have done that either. So maybe it says less about David Moyes and more about Everton in the modern era, in the 21st century, which is something they want to change with the move to the new stadium. But yeah, it was disappointing because, as Paul said, there was an opportunity there for them, because I think, given that the little slip-ups but majors, it's not going to stop them winning the league, but obviously the disappointments of losing the Carabao Cup final and the Champions League exit to Paris Saint-Germain before the break, heads would have fallen off if Everton had put a spanner in the works last night. And it could have happened, but ultimately, obviously, it didn't.
Sticking with Everton's performance then, Paul, I mean, in my opinion, again, I thought the game plan worked. I thought we did okay. People have rightly pointed out to me that Everton didn't have a shot on target, but if you look at it, as Chris has mentioned, there was a marginal offside. And obviously Beto hit the post, did very well from probably what a poor Decore through ball, and made the most of that. Okay, he misses the chance. But again, I just felt like throughout the whole of the first 45 minutes, we looked like the team more dangerous and most likely to score, despite Liverpool's lion's share of possession. Yeah,
absolutely. We had the ball in the back of the net, and as you say, that killer chance for Beto. I thought we played really well in the first half. We're never, as you rightly said, we're never going to go there and dominate possession against a team as good as Liverpool are at the moment in time. But the game plan was working, and if Beto just shows that slight bit more of composure, it really could have been a different outcome, because I think obviously we get the benefit of working here, that we're very in tune with the Liverpool fan base as well as the Everton fan base, and there definitely has been like a bit of a mood shift in the last couple of weeks, because it's strange, they are going to win the league, but they can't almost bring themselves to believe that just yet. I know at the end they did sing about it last night, but it's such a strange situation for Liverpool supporters, because obviously the other title they have won was similar to this, where it was going to become a bit of a one-horse race, but it was played behind closed doors. Every other title race that they've been involved in recent years has been neck and neck, hasn't it, with Man City? So then for them to see the double defeats against Newcastle and Paris Saint-Germain, it's definitely took not a shine off it a little bit, but it's made them maybe think a little bit. And I thought in the first half last night, if we would have got that goal, it would have been interesting to see what the atmosphere was like, because some of their players, as amazing as they've been this season, people like Salah, Gravenberch was a little bit better last night. I thought the two centre-backs, as good as they are, were poor. They weren't playing well. And if we would have got that goal, it would have really thrown the cat among the pigeons. To Liverpool's credit, I thought the 10-minute spell they had before Jota scored, they played well. They really turned it on. And then after that, they did what they do so well this season. They're not particularly exciting champions. I think Klopp's team were a lot better to watch, but they rightly could say, who cares? They're going to win the league. They control the game pretty well. Then it felt like they had all the ball rather than just the majority of the ball. And I thought after that, we didn't really lay a glove on them, which was the disappointing thing. But credit to Liverpool in that respect. They got the job done, and that's all that mattered last night. But first half, lots of good things, definitely.
Yeah, and we'll come on to the second half now. Obviously, performance slightly dipped. I think you could maybe say it mirrored the United home game. I mean, Chris, I watched the game from home. You were obviously at the ground. You'd probably get a better feel for it than me. Paul's just touched upon it slightly. I felt even before we were having our two major chances, the offside and the one that at the post, I felt any time we broke on the counter, the nerves around Anfield, you could tell it went quite silent to the point. And I remember watching the Liverpool PSG game at Anfield, and it was very similar. Anytime PSG went on the counter, Anfield went silent, and there was clearly nerves there from the home crowd. We just couldn't, obviously on the pitch, taking the chances quality-wise, we just couldn't take advantage of it again, which is just a shame. Yeah,
there was nerves. You could see it around us where we were in the press box, and the home fans who were around us. I think in a similar way to we get certain X-rated remarks at Goodison, but what I think one of the home fans was saying, like, "Come on, these are just like an alehouse team," or something like that. Some words to that effect. They were getting very frustrated, but that was because Everton were asking the questions, weren't they, in the first half, and those nerves, like I said, maybe it was because of those two last results that they've had, and just wondering whether they almost like that, not that they're going to be derailed, but there was a few bumps in the road for them. So yeah, it took a long time. You could see the relief as well when the way they celebrated the goal as well. It was a massive moment for them when it came. I was just saying to one of our Reds colleagues before, to be fair, an incredible individual effort from Jota. You know, that moment of brilliance to win the game, and that ultimately proved to be the difference in quality. But yeah, it was a huge release for them when the goal did finally come. But it's interesting that, you know, for all that it's almost like, oh, little Everton, we're not bothered about them. How much they obviously care about these games, and when Everton, as I say, crossed the park for the final time there. You know, beforehand we were talking about the gulf between the sides, and David Moyes was asked about that. Given that where they are in the table, Everton are hoping to go on to better things next season, and this was a first defeat in 10 Premier League matches for them. But yeah, there's a big difference there. But yeah, for as much as Moyes still hasn't won at Anfield, and like I said, that's something that all Everton managers, other than that behind closed doors thing for Ancelotti, you know, need to rectify. He has got under the skin at times, and obviously it was the famous 0-0 that prompted Rafael Benitez to make his small club remark, and it could have easily been another one of those last night. You know, if Jota hadn't danced through, and obviously it would come to the offside decision and stuff like that, you know, it might have ended up being another night in which he'd frustrated Liverpool on their own turf.
Obviously, a number of flashpoints in the game, Paul. We might as well go head first with the Tarkowski tackle. I guess your thoughts. I mean, it was certainly, he won the ball and obviously follows through, and it was certainly full-blooded, if you want to call it that.
Yeah,
but
if you want to be kind.
What would you say?
Yeah, it's a tackle from probably a bygone age, isn't it? You know, some people who would try and defend it say, well, it's a typical Derby tackle, but it's reckless. There's, there's plenty of incidences over the years in Derby games that we could refer to where Everton have been hard done by. But I think if James Tarkowski would have been sent off to that last night, I don't think anyone would have really complained. I know the PGMOL have already been briefing the media today to say that they've got it wrong. I wish they'd briefed the media a bit quicker with some of the decisions Everton have got wrong this season. But they came out quick enough. But to be fair, again, you can't argue with it. He did win the ball, but you can't follow through like that today. And probably, I'm glad McAllister's all right, because, he could easily have had a serious injury there. That's the kind of player Tarkowski is. We were talking about it with my dad last night. To be honest, I remember him doing a very similar challenge on Richarlison at Goodison Park. I think we beat when he played for Burnley and we won 3-1. And I remember after that game fuming about how he didn't get a red card then, so I'd be a hypocrite if I turned round and now go, well, no, it was a deserved yellow. I think, yeah, he won the ball, but I think the follow-through challenge was over the top. And I think, yeah, in days gone by, that could have been acceptable, but I don't think it is today. And I think he's a lucky boy, and I think maybe he should pack those challenges in a little bit, because before long he will get a red card. And if we would have gone down to 10 minutes into the game last night,
just not much longer.
It could have been a very long night compared to what it was. It was a bit of a disappointing one, really. But if it was a red, it was a red for me.
I mean, Chris, weeks ago, I promised never to criticise James Tarkowski ever again, and I'm not going to. However,
you think he should have hit him harder?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. No, I just think this is not being critical of him. Obviously, I think we can all agree that it was probably a red card, but he's got that in his locker. Yeah. Where I don't want to go as far as to say he loses his head slightly. He's clearly gone into, again, just full blooded. He wants to win the ball, and he clearly wins the ball, but he obviously makes contact with the man. I don't think there's any denying that. But I just think we've said it in the past where he just needs to be a bit smarter at times. And okay, it didn't cost him last night, as Paul said. I think he's got away with a couple, hasn't he? Really,
yeah, there was one early this season, wasn't it? At Goodison, I'm sure.
It just comes back to this conversation here. Just be a bit smarter about things. There's nothing wrong with going in hard and challenging hard, but you won the ball as well. That's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah, we were actually talking about it before kick-off in the press room, because unfortunately there's been so many of these incidents. Like we say, we were also discussing recently who was Kevin Felwell's best signing ever, and I think both Joe and I both said James Tarkowski, and wholeheartedly, I stand by that. But yeah, does have that in his locker, and he has been fortunate. It was high, wasn't it? And it could have easily. I think even Duncan Ferguson said he should have been a red. So it's big Dunk saying that. You probably know the way
Guilty
the wind.
as charged,
Yeah, way things going. But yeah, I mean. McAllister, they had words afterwards, didn't they? He seemed to, he's been. I spoke to Jordan Pickford afterwards, and he said James Tarkowski apologised, and it was over the top. But I remember the derby at Goodison last season, and McAllister just went around kicking people himself. Well, it doesn't make that right, but yeah, from an Everton point of view, yeah, it could have put Everton on the back foot early doors, because if that had been an early red for them, they 10 men at Anfield, then they really would have been up against it, wouldn't they? And as the captain, he should be leading by example rather than doing things that are reckless. So yeah, it is something in his locker. He's 32 years of age now. Hopefully he can still learn. He can still adapt his game, because I think he's a great player and a great leader. And like I've said, I've been on record many times. I just love his attitude, the way he, just on and off the pitch, the way he is as a man. But yeah, he could have put his team in trouble there. So yeah, got away with it again. And the fact that he's played every Premier League game since he came to the club, yeah, he's a lucky boy. That, obviously he didn't get the red there, and subsequent suspension that would have followed.
I mean, Paul Tarkowski come out afterwards and commented on it. He said, I apologise to him because it's not a great tackle. When the ball fell between us, I actually thought we were going to go in for an old-fashioned 50-50, but he pulled out. It's just such a weird tackle that McAllister's actually quite far away, isn't he, from the ball itself? So it did look like they were going to go in. Is there anything in that he thought in that split second, I can take it?
What I find hard, because a lot of people say, well, you could see he meant to do him. Well, we don't know that. You don't know that. There's no way if Tarkowski's meant to leave one on him. It looks that way, but we don't know, because we're not professional footballers. It's hard enough playing five-a-side. God knows what it's like playing the speed of a Merseyside derby at the Premier League. He may have just mistimed it, but I'm glad he's apologised. I'm glad McAllister's okay, and you just have to move on now, really, from it, because as we've seen last night, it became a very big deal very, very quickly, kind of thing. Not only ourselves, you look at Sky, it was covered massively in depth. He's made a mistake. He's got away with it. The player's not hurt. But what it does highlight, like Liverpool fans, welcome to our world, of how absolutely atrocious VAR is. I always have a certain degree of sympathy with referees because of that pace I'm talking about in a game. We go back to, say, the Man United decision, the penalty one, even if he had got it wrong that day, the ref, the VAR's there to help. And I think all it does is hinder referees. I think it's making them worse. And the fact that the PGMOL, sorry, getting the words mixed up.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, the referees chiefs have come out and already said it was a mistake. It's just they're terrible. They're absolutely atrocious. They really are. If they can't, and I'm speaking as an Evertonian here, if they can't see that was a red card, what hope have teams have got? Like the Man United one, if they can't show the referee the angles of the pull on Ashley Young, they're absolutely woeful.
Yeah, that's just the problem, though, isn't it? Whether it's going for or against Everton, it's happening all the time, isn't it?
Woeful.
Is just the interpretation of certain decisions, though? I mean, I tweeted before, it's unsurprising that, we'll come on to the offside, but it's unsurprising that Liverpool fans think Diaz wasn't offside. It's unsurprising that Everton fans think he was offside. I know that's a different incident, but that is just natural football balance. I mean, in the comments, let's take a look at the comments. I was trying to have a look there. So James Graham says, he won the tackle, but the follow-through was intended. David B says, I was baffled. He got a yellow. It was a clean tackle. I don't know what people make of that. Pterodactyl says, the follow-through is outlawed now. It's not the winning of the ball. And Strong here from a regular comment said, the Blues, it was a cowardly tackle. He's literally gone out to do him, and he's not even fully committed. Strength and Honour, that's a YouTube channel, says, I didn't even think it was a yellow. So, obviously, you're going to get difference of opinion. I think maybe because he wins the ball, people are saying, well, he's won the ball. Back 20, 30 years ago, maybe that was a challenge that would be acceptable. I mean, what I will say is McAllister, obviously he was hurt, but he did finish the game. He was fine to continue. He wasn't injured, and I don't think Tarkowski purposely went out to hurt him in any way, shape or form. He just went out to win the ball, but obviously took the man as well.
Yeah, McAllister's one of those players who gets stuck in as well, you know. Like,
yeah, he is actually.
He's a for a small lad, he's tough and he leaves. I know Tarkowski said he pulled out a little bit, but I didn't see that at the time. But obviously they would know better. Again, the comments are probably right. I personally, other people obviously there, I think we all seem to think it was a red card, but years ago it's not. It's It's just the game has changed, hasn't it now? And it's the follow through for me.
Another flashpoint then was the offsides or the non-offside for Luis Diaz, if you want to call it that. And regardless of whether Everton's performance dropped off, Chris, in the second half, I think Liverpool were certainly edging towards creating more chances. But the game was in the balance, regardless of what anyone says. So what are your thoughts on whether he was offside or not?
Well, they've gone to tell us, aren't they? The reasons have already been stated, haven't they? Why, even though he is offside, it's not given. There used to be a time when, I mean, I'm the oldest there, and it's Paul, and then it's you, but we're all kind of a similar sort of age, I guess. And I think we kind of all knew the rules, the laws of the game at one time. It came to offside, when it came to everything else. If you followed the game, you knew what was offside and what wasn't offside. And there's had so much tinkering over the years and changing this, and is he not first phase, second phase, interfering, not interfering, whatever. He's interfering with play, and he can't. In my book, you can't say how he's not interfering with play, and he's played a part in the goal. But of course, they will say by the letter of the law, yeah, that's the reason it wasn't given. Even though Arne Slot says, he doesn't like it, but
even with the letter of the law, though, as in this sentence here, because they obviously put a graphic up on Sky Sports last night, making an obvious action which clearly impacts on the ability of an opponent to play the ball. Does he not do that for you? Yeah. He does that for me.
Yeah. And it's nothing. Obviously, you got that piece just gone up. What time are we on now? Yeah, it's just gone up at 12 o'clock. Jordan Pickford, and he's saying if Tarkowski's got him in his eye line as well. Yeah. And so, for me, of course, he is. So that's why I think David Moyes was so furious about it. David Moyes is a fair man. He says, if something, he's not one of these blinkered managers who just say black's white just because it benefits his team. He's a straight shooter in that respect, and he was very annoyed about it, and you can see why. I'm baffled to think that how we can say he's not interfering with play, but again, they'll use the like I said, the letter of the law as a get out clause for doing it. But what sort of gets me is, obviously after the last derby, the Goodison one, when James Tarkowski scored, we had this whole forensic examination of the time added on, offsides, imagining fouls on Canate and Beto, and was he breathing too heavily on him? All of this, and yet for Everton going to Anfield, it's almost like, well, there you go, there's the rules.
It wasn't talked about a lot on the telly at all.
Never is,
it was brushed under the carpet quite quick.
That's different.
Gary Neville did mention it, and he did suggest that it had been checked.
Yeah.
But for me, Paul, Diaz's presence, obviously from an offside position, it forces Tarkowski into a decision, and it impacts his ability to play the ball. And effectively, Tarkowski makes a mistake from it. It's a poor clearance or a poor pass. And it results directly to a goal. We're all agreeing that the Tarkowski incident...
Which he plays a key part in Diaz as well by flicking it back.
Exactly. Tarkowski incident was a red card, but that doesn't necessarily direct impact on a goal incident, does it? Everton could have seen the game out to 0-0. You'll never know that. However, this directly impacts a flashpoint in the game that results in a goal.
Yeah, I'd probably be a lot more furious if the Tarkowski incident hadn't happened, because I don't believe in things evening itself out, but it maybe takes the edge off. But I do know exactly what you're saying. If it is the rules, well, the rules are ridiculous, because if it was Diaz in front of near Pickford rather than Tarkowski at that point, I'm pretty sure they would have said he was interfering with play. But just because there were other bodies behind him, I do think he was interfering with play, because I think Tarkowski, as you say, he kind of leans down to clear because he's scanning. He can see Diaz on his shoulder, and I think the clearance would have been different. And the fact that the ball was then recycled and Diaz did that nice back heel and Jota dances through and scores, which clearly had a major impact on the goal. Again, if it's more the rules than the actual decision making of the officials, it's ridiculous. Again, it's just I hate to moan about. It's not even referees, about officiating, but because it's a hard job. But I just think I think now it's just too big a part of the narrative of what we do at the Echo, what Sky Sports do. And I talk more about referees and VAR and the rules than about football. And I know people rightly will talk around, well, it's always been this way. You know, we can go back to many decisions before, like the pre-internet age. You know, I'm sure it dominated back pages, but it just feels like something we have to talk about all the time now. And in terms of the discussion, what it had compared to, say, like the Tarkowski goal. I am not bitter about last night's result. I've got no major complaints, especially given how much I've said about Tarkowski should have been shown a red card. But I do think there is a certain thing in that where, you know, clubs, not your Man Uniteds, not your Liverpools, not your Arsenals of this world. I do think when a decision like that, it doesn't get magnified anywhere near as much as if it went the opposite way. I truly believe that. And I think the media, you know, these are the biggest clubs and the media are partly to blame for that, because I don't think for other clubs it get blown up at nearly as much, to be honest. Because as you say, as bad as Tarkowski's challenge was, that was magnified a lot more than the goal that's decided the game, to be honest. To me, it should not be given, but if the rules say that it should,
I don't think the rules do say it should, though.
It's all open to interpretation.
That's what I mean.
Like Carragher, I watched a slight bit after the game because obviously I'm not going to watch too much after a Derby defeat. But he was saying, he went through the rules and said, oh, well, clearly it was never going to be given. I was like, I'm not sure about that. But I don't want to come across as bitter today, because I still think there was enough time in that game for us to do something about it. And I still don't think Liverpool were as good as they had been even before the goal in the rest of the game. But yeah, I'm not sure about it.
The last point, and I'll repeat it, the last point on the rules that Sky Sports showed up on the screen, making an obvious action, which clearly impacts on the ability of an opponent to play the ball. He's walking towards James Tarkowski. That is an obvious action to me. Chris, there's no defender in world football, in the history of football, that is clever enough to let that ball go, thinking that Luis Diaz is offside and it can just roll to Jordan Pickford. Yeah, it's just that would never happen.
No, that's exactly that's what makes a mockery of it. Yeah, it's just
footballers. Yeah. If you watch them at the top level, but all good footballers to ones who play, you know, in like semi-professional leagues, they're incredible at scanning. They're incredible at looking at the situation. They've got like 360 vision. He would have seen Diaz. There's no doubt about it. Because as you rightly said, Ian, if he didn't, probably just, or if he wasn't there, he lets the ball roll back, doesn't he? So he's definitely, I think he's definitely involved with the play.
I mean, there was an incident during the game which Dave Kennedy has highlighted in the comments, if you remember. I think it's been highlighted on social media as well. Dave Kennedy says Branthwaite was called offside late on in the game as Everton were attacking for interfering with play. Do you remember the incident where there's a cross into the box and the Liverpool player cuts it out first, where Branthwaite's kind of a little bit wider, but Branthwaite was given offside? That is exactly the same incident
in the same game, same game.
Yeah. I mean, we can harp back on to, you know, incidents years ago where Sigurdsson against Manchester United. I mean, I'm obviously clutching at straws. I do get that, but Sigurdsson was given offside for interfering with play when he wasn't interfering with play.
On the deck, wasn't he?
And he was like said to be in the eye line of David De Gea, and he just wasn't.
But again, it's that idea of the biggest.
I went to bed last night. Felt promising about the initial display, but frustrated with how, you know, the outcome ended. But Terry Dactyle makes a really good point here, Paul. Straight to the point. In the end, we didn't score, and that's a disappointment. Yeah, so quality-wise, we know there's issues.
Absolutely, like that. These are talking points, flashpoints, but there was still enough time in that game to influence it. And I think, like, what Moyes has done and what the players, absolute every credit to the players. What they've done over the last few months has been tremendous. You know, we're more or less safe now, aren't we? got a few Twitters last night with
Ipswich
winning
winning.
at
Ipswich winning
Bournemouth.
and 14 now, like, you know, with these fixtures. But I'm pretty sure we'll be all right.
Well, especially with our run of fixtures.
I know.
Now Arsenal is a big game.
Bigger game, isn't it? Yeah. But I'm pretty sure we'll be fine. They deserve all the credit in the world. But there were times last night where our quality let us down in the final third, particularly. And as you say, Beto had played so well against Canati and Van Dijk. They weren't at it. They weren't on it last night.
All over the place at times.
They were at times, but we still didn't score. And I think the reason we didn't score was obviously we've talked about Beto, his poor finish after doing so well to create the chance himself. But our final ball last night was not good enough. It was not good enough.
I mean, I don't want to be too harsh on certain individuals, Chris, because it is a team game, and like I say, we did okay. But in terms of when we were getting into those key areas, and at times when we were breaking, we were like 4-on-3 or 3-on-2. You know, we were getting into really good spaces. I felt Harrison was so poor on the ball. There was a time where he brought the ball forward really well, and I think two players to Corey, maybe Beto on the far. This in the second half on the far right hand side. And he just passes the ball to the keeper. You know, his future is a different podcast, but in terms of last night, you certainly want more from your attacking players. You know, the players who you look to who were going to create those chances.
Yeah, as always, my player ratings got a lot of feedback in there, because I didn't go very high, but I didn't go very low. I don't think anyone had a stinker. But like I said, in terms of Jack Harrison, in terms of, as always with Jack, you know, he really puts in a shift, and he was getting up and down that wing. But yeah, I just wanted more proactiveness from him, more decisiveness, and getting the ball across. He was almost like ponderous and getting himself into going down cul-de-sacs, stuff like that. Yeah, it's been an issue. I mean, obviously Iliman Ndiaye wasn't deemed fit enough to start, because when we've done our team selectors, when we choose the team who we think should be playing, I said, well, just toss in a googly, put Ndiaye down the right hand side, bring him back there, because obviously Alcaraz had played down the left against West Ham, and I think it just gives Liverpool something maybe to think about. But obviously he's not played since the last derby, so Ndiaye only came on as a second half substitute. Lindstrom was ruled out, wasn't he? Was it a groin injury, something like that? So Harrison was the only option, and he was the incumbent option after playing in recent weeks. Yeah, it needs more from him. I mean, David Moyes was asked about it just before the Wolves game, when obviously Harrison got his first goal and Lindstrom got his first assist. And before that game, he'd said, you know, you need more to have longevity for him in those positions in the final third. And I think that's, for me, it's got to be one of the areas where it's got to be a big upgrade in the summer. Neither Harrison nor Lindstrom, for myself, have shown anywhere near enough to turn those loans into permanent moves. And although he gets himself into these decent positions, he does need to show more, for me.
Just sticking with it, and then we'll move on, Paul. I think for me with Harrison, the most frustrating thing, you know, he's not going to give you that much quality. He's not got end product. We know that through his goals and assists output. The disappointing thing for me tonight was last night was his lack of fight as well. He was too easily dispossessed on the ball, too weak, just poor all round. And when you know you're not going to have possession of the ball too much, you need to. Obviously, he did a lot of running, but when he's got that ball, you need to be stronger, and don't let the opposition get it back. Yeah,
he's got a lovely touch, hasn't he? He can play off both feet. And last season, you know, his goal return, assist return wasn't too bad, but that's been the big issue for me this year. He's had chances, whether it's chances to score or last night chances to set up goals, and he's got to admit in his heart of hearts he's badly let himself down for that. He's not the strongest in terms of physical, and in a derby you obviously need that. And I think, listen, I don't want to dig him out too much, because we did a piece recently, didn't we, about during one of the breaks or a midweek, where we were talking about which loan players you would sign, and obviously I think we all went for Alcaraz to sign permanently. And I tried to argue Harrison in the respect of, like, if you had Alcaraz and Jai, McNeil, and then you wanted to buy two more attacking midfielder wingers, money will only stretch so far, won't it? If you could get him for a knockdown price from Leeds, even though I know he's got a a long contract still there. I could see the logic in him because I can think he could be a decent squad player, but I just think last night we need more. We just need more, and maybe that's not him. Maybe that's not him. You know, like the best players, the best decision makers, aren't they? And I think sometimes he lacks that end product, isn't he? And it's going to be an interesting summer because I'm with you, Chris. I'd actually have Harrison more over Lindstrom. I'd actually have Harrison more over Lindstrom. If we had to keep one, I'd take Harrison over Lindstrom. I think he's just had a tough season. I still think there's a decent player in there, but you know we've got to have more, haven't we? And you know what, Decore comes in this to me as well. Like what he's done for this club in recent years is absolutely huge. He's shown under Moyes that he's still a big player. He was absolutely brilliant in the derby at Goodison, but last night as well, if we want to kick on, we've got to get better quality.
I think with Decore, at least you know he's going to provide that intensity. He's never going to stop running.
He's 33, 34 as well, isn't he? You know,
he'll constantly close down the opposition as well. I mean, it was clear from that through ball where he plays Beto in. He doesn't really play him in. Beto has still a lot to do. Takes on Van Dijk, makes him look a bit silly, and he obviously clearly should score. Just to finish off on Harrison, there's got some comments here. So Scott Howard says, bags of energy but no end product from him. What else? Strength and Honour says, I was screaming for Ndai to come on earlier again, which we'll come on to. And Day Kennedy says, I think Moyes will have been able to make his final decision on Harrison. Worked hard, but the quality just isn't there. And Paul Williams is fairly positive. He says, the lads did well, remember. We have the best team we can in this moment in time, and they all perform to the best of their ability. I slightly disagree, although I'm glad he's positive. I don't think we do have the best team that we have at this moment in time because we have got key players out, although they are on the way back. I think things would have been slightly different if maybe we had a Dominic Calvert-Lewin who was able to play, whether that start or come off the bench, if Ndai was able to start. Again, it's only a few key players. But again, we've got Breuer coming back from injury. We've got Schmitty.
Yeah, McNeil's still out.
Exactly. Yeah,
back in training, but not
McNeil's another one. So to say, you know, we've got the best team that we can play is probably disagree with that slightly. But even then, you could say, well, at least we competed with the team who's going to win the league.
Yeah, somebody was actually replying, I think, to my analysis online this morning on X, as it's now called, I think, and they were saying that. Well, you know, we spent about 5p over the last 3 years, and we managed to. Liverpool only beat us with an offside goal, so I suppose that's one way of looking at it. So,
Love that.
Yeah, I think it was probably less than that because they actually made a profit, didn't they? So it probably was less than 5p. But yeah, I certainly got the sentiment there of what they were saying. Yeah, look, let's have it right. Liverpool's going to be, as we said numerous times, you know, they might be still feeling a little bit jittery, less so after last night, but they will be league champions this season. Let's hope Everton stay up with plenty to spare, but there's plenty for David Moyes to think about going forward. He wants better. You know, this is the man who led Everton to 9 top 8 finishes, including 4th in his first spell in charge. You know, he wants Everton to be doing much better, and he can identify those areas of doing it. And Freaking Group already made some ruthless decisions, and could be a shape of things to come. Some more ruthless decisions when it comes to the players and who's retained and who's replaced this summer.
I mean, Paul, right now there's literally nothing the club or David Moyes can do when it comes to bringing new players in. One player that he did bring in January was obviously Alcaraz, who has shown lots of promise, I think, and if he plays a couple more games, then I think we're going to trigger the clause to purchase him. I think at the moment he's shoehorning him into the team on the wings, obviously because his natural position will be as the number 10, but Decore is obviously playing as that number 10. When I saw that obviously Lindstrom wasn't playing a part, who would add a little bit more natural width, and Alcaraz was the player to play on the wing, I was slightly not disappointed. I just don't think we're going to get much out of this game with that setup. Obviously, I was wrong because I felt like we did. Moving forward, what would you do with Alcaraz? He's clearly good enough to start, but that would probably mean either two things: that he continues on the wing, or Decore comes out of the team and he's the number 10.
I think it's probably the Decore one, isn't it? I think just what Decore is definitely unproven in the last derby was, you know, around that time, was it Alcaraz? Had we played Palace before Liverpool, or was it after the Palace? No, the Palace win was after Alcaraz, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But going into the derby, I think the Corey was injured recently before the game.
Suspended.
And we were talking about like whether Alcaraz, keeps, and the Corey justified his selection. I think in those big games where you don't have the ball against the biggest teams, the best teams in the country at the moment, he does offer a lot, doesn't he, out of possession? But again, we've talked about trying to kick on and progression, and I think if we want to do that, we need a better number 10 or an attacking midfielder than the Corey. And Alcaraz has definitely shown signs that he could be it. I like the way he carries the ball. We haven't got loads of ball carriers in our team. We haven't got a lot of pace and power, but I think he moves across the ground really well, Alcaraz. And there were certain bits and bobs last night when he looked really good. But I think you're spot on here, and I think they are trying to shoehorn him into the team at the moment. I don't think that's his natural position. But as you say, we're missing big players as well, and like it will be interesting before the end of the season if he's got Calvert-Lewin, McNeil, and Jai, and then you got Harrison, Lindstrom, Decore, and Alcaraz. That's 6 or 7 plays into 3 or 4 positions, so it's going to be interesting. But I like him. I think if there's discussions about Harrison about staying, I don't think there should be any about Alcaraz. I think there's a lot of potential there.
Unsurprisingly, in the comments, there's no there's a lot of debate and divisive comments. So the Blues disagrees with us. I don't agree about the shoehorning. Alcaraz is fine on the left coming inside when Ndiaye is out because he's the next closest player to Ndiaye in the squad. Terry Dactyl says play Alcaraz in his best position, simple.
Well, I certainly think once Ndiaye is fully fit, and obviously he came off the bench last night, I mean, once you got him and McNeil back, I don't see how Alcaraz is playing on the left then.
We still need a right winger though, don't we? We still need
that's the big one for me for the summer. Yeah.
Right winger.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Quick one on the subs, Chris. Were you... I think you said before we came in you wasn't too sure what much more Moyes could have done. He's obviously his hands tied behind his back a little bit in terms of the players coming back because they're clearly not fully match fit.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Ndiaye came on when he did, to be honest. I thought if he was going to come on, he'd only get like 5 or 10 minutes, but was it 20 minutes or so 15 minutes that he came on?
It was a bit long. I think it was about
60 odd minutes, yeah.
I don't know. So I think he did all he could. Like I said, I'd like to see Ndiaye fit, but I'm not the one who's finished for monitoring his levels, so obviously they knew a lot better than me in that respect, and he had that strapping on as well. So, he wasn't able really to work his magic, unfortunately. Hopefully, in the weeks to come now, obviously it's this April run of fixtures, tough games on paper throughout the month, so hopefully he can get back to his best soon. And I think that the fact that he used all 5 subs, didn't he? Triple switch then, and then Yusuf Chamiti late on. So I don't see what. And given the cards that he's been dealt at the moment and the player fitness, I don't see what else he could have done. I mean, you weren't probably going to change it while we're still 0-0, could you? And he made a switch pretty. Was it probably about 10 minutes? Was it after the goal, something like that? So I don't personally think he did all that he could. There's not too many. You got options now at least with Broja and Chamiti back, but are they game changers? They haven't really shown that yet. Neither of them have scored a goal for the club, so. As much as it's nice to have those options, and Chamiti, especially last season, showed a lot of promise towards the end of the season. They've got to show more, haven't they?
Was that only their second appearance since he come back?
Chamiti, I think, because West Ham was it his first, and then that was the second one. So
difficult to make an impact, isn't it? When you come on with so little time left. But obviously, you are right. You would like to see them progress and make more of an impact in the coming weeks. Just one thing I'll mention that I noticed while I was watching it on TV last night. Arne Slot is a flapper, by the way.
Oh.
All this calm and collected stuff is a myth. If you'd seen him on the touchline, now I get managers are animated, but if you saw him on the touchline with a couple of minutes to go, certainly when we had that corner, when Pickford went up, I thought his head was going to fall off, to be honest.
I think that narrative about like what Van Dijk tried to like bring out after the last derby, like it's our cup final. Let's rubbish that. That game means as much to Liverpool, and you're seeing it with Slot after the first game. It means as much as Liverpool as it does to Everton. I know we're in very different places as clubs, and I know unfortunately they've got they've got obviously the big Indian sign over us, haven't they, at Anfield? But you could see how much it meant to them last night. In the same way, you could see how much it meant to them at Goodison when the points were taken away from them. You know, and yeah. To be fair, I've watched his press conference this morning, Slot, and I do think there's a bit of mutual respect between him and Moyes.
Yeah.
Like I'd say, he was quite complimentary to us. I think I prefer him to Klopp.
Okay.
I'm going to say that. I think I prefer him to Klopp.
Fair enough. I guess the positive we just touched on in Di, that he is on his way back. We've missed him, you know, massively. And like say, people talking about the likes of Harrison and his, you know, maybe he hasn't been up to scratch or been on par with Ndai, but he's kind of like being the replacement for Ndai, and there's nothing we can do about that because Ndai got injured. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks, you know, this month is going to be loads of tough fixtures. Ndai needs to, if he's fit, obviously get back in that team as soon as possible.
Definitely, yeah, that's what they need. 7 weeks, wasn't it, since the last derby, and they've had to do without him since then, since obviously he left the field in tears, injured in the first half. So it's been a massive miss. People need to realise that when Everton have been on this 9-match unbeaten run in the Premier League, they've done it without him, been without Dwight McNeil since start of December. You know, two of the most creative players in the team. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin's been injured. First choice striker since the end of January at Brighton, same with Mangala, who's out for the season. So, yeah, you need. He's been the magic man all season, hasn't he? When he's been fit, so you need to have him firing again as soon as possible. Let's hope he's okay.
Well, we're going to be back with another podcast tomorrow talking about Arsenal, but we will touch upon Arsenal now. Paul, would you expect Arteta to play a bit of a weakened team against Everton? Now the fact that Liverpool have gone, well, again, remain 12 points clear, isn't it? And the fact that they've got a huge game against Real Madrid on Tuesday night, I think it is.
Is it Tuesday?
I think so, isn't it? I'll double check, but I mean, I'll double check that. But what do you think?
Do they have a weakened team?
Yeah. You still. I know they're missing a centre forward, but it's
Tuesday.
Tuesday. It's a strong squad. Is it at Bernabeu or is it
Arsenal first?
Arsenal. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you know, if Liverpool would have dropped points last night, I think Arsenal would have just, you know, as we talked about those jitters kind of thing after that tough week they had, and maybe they were the fans and the players were beginning to doubt themselves a little bit. I think it's over now, because I think that, apart from Arsenal at home, they've got some tough away games, Liverpool. I think they've got to go to Chelsea and Brighton towards the end of the season. But by that stage, I think it'll be close to being done. I think the home games will see him through now. I think that was a huge result for him last night, and I wonder if Arteta realises that as well. Here's hoping. Do you know what I mean? Like, here's hoping he makes the changes, because I think it's going to be a very, very difficult game on Saturday. Like, I imagine it took a lot out of us last night. You know, Arsenal are a really, really good side. Like, they're a really, really good side. I know we did well to get a draw at their place. Again, a bit like Liverpool, not really the most exciting top team we've seen in recent years. But I think it's going to be a difficult game for us. So, yeah, I'm hoping Arteta does ring the changes, because I think we might need it a little bit.
Would that be in the case, saying it was a tough game for us, and in terms of fitness, because we do seem to play the exact same players every single game?
Yeah.
We have got options back, as discussed, whether they're going to be fit enough to play the full 90. But would you maybe ring the changes yourself, start with a couple of different options?
I think I'd bring Irabuma in. I'd give him a go. I'd give him a go if and
for who?
Garner.
I
thought Idrissa Gueye was good again last night. Certainly before Liverpool scored, I thought he was excellent. I'd maybe bring him in. If Njai's fit enough, give him a go. I think it'd be harsh on Beto to rest him, because I think he did really well again for 60, 70 minutes last night. But yeah, why not? Why not freshen it up? We probably are safe now, and we probably need to know a little bit more about a couple of the other players who've maybe not been starting as much. Why not?
I'm not entirely sure on tomorrow's podcast lineup, so you might be in it. I don't know. Well,
late selection dilemma for Croll.
We're busy, aren't we?
We've got
potentially. We've got a lot on potentially.
Well, what we will. So should we actually? We could make an announcement, couldn't we?
Sorry, we should have done this at the beginning. You should have reminded me.
But we can end on a positive note. What I would say, just before I come to that, is again talking about sort of media agendas and the way things get flagged up or they don't get flagged up. All the bitching that Jurgen Klopp, who's already been mentioned today, used to do. Midweek games in Europe, early game on Saturday. It's 60 hours between that final whistle going at Anfield and Everton having to play Arsenal. You know, one of the most intensive games of the season for Everton. It won't be mentioned. It'll all be us on air who who mention it. So it's a very short turnaround in terms of the fixtures. Yeah, if that had been one of the Sky Six, as it were, we wouldn't have heard at the end of it. But yeah, let's finish on a positive note.
What was in Chris's butty to make him say all that?
It's all
He's been spiked.
yeah, pulled pork.
Go on, you've got a big announcement, haven't you?
Let's end on a high note because, we've been fortunate enough to have some of the biggest guests in Everton history on this season. Obviously, Goodison Park, my home. Peter Reid's been celebrated the most important signing since the war. He was terrific value, but absolutely delighted that we've got the scorer of the clinching goal on Goodison Park's greatest ever night, Trevor Stephen. He's our latest guest. We had him in the studio. We had a double last week, didn't we? Yeah. Reid and Stephen both in. So that one's coming soon. Very much a change of pace from Peter Reid, and he talks about some very serious issues and some contemporary issues that he's involved in now with mental health in the construction area, in the construction industry, but also some terrific stories about obviously his own footballing career and that glorious 84-85 season, and of course that night against Bayern Munich, and obviously scored in the final as well. Cross for Andy Gray in the 84 Cup final. Terrific player, Trevor Stevens. Some terrific stories from him, and that one's coming soon, isn't it, Ian?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been in the room for every single one, and every single one have been fantastic in their own right. I don't know whether you can be biased or not, because obviously they all play for Everton and they're all fantastic Everton legends and giants, but Peter Reid was probably my favourite one so far. Joe Royle one was extremely special for obvious reasons. Moyes one, the Moyes one was obviously just insane. I think that's the only way I can describe it, but that was fantastic, and to meet David himself. But Trevor Stephen was just as good, and we're going to try and get that out on Tuesday next week. So what date is that? That is the 8th, I think. The 8th of April. So keep an eye out for that one. Any final thoughts then, lads, before we do shoot off?
No, I just said obviously it'll be a positive response come Saturday. Another huge game, isn't it? Was it 4 left now at the Grand Old Lady? They're coming thick and fast. It'll soon be over, so enjoy them while you can. Yeah.
And we obviously play Grand National Day. Any tips, Paul?
No, probably not.
I just thought throw a curveball in there.
No, I've never looked. To be honest, we're going to have to look tonight or tomorrow really. But
you partaking in the work sweep?
I may do, yeah. I think mine fell before it even started last year, so hopefully better luck. But in terms of Everton, we've still got to be positive, and it's disappointing to have lost another derby. But if we would have rewound back to when Moyes came in, if you'd imagine where we were, and the fact that 2 performances against Liverpool, the 90 minutes at Goodison, and then for 60 minutes last night, we've come on a long way, and hopefully. Hopefully we continue that, for the rest of the season. Try and get bounce back on Saturday, get a positive result, if not a win, and then look forward to a big summer. I still think there's a lot to look forward to.
Okay, well, we will call it a day for today's show. Please remember to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Support, as always, is greatly appreciated. Drop us some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. I've been Ian Croll, joined by Paul Wheelock and Chris Beesley, and this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.